Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I am finally getting around to my paper pumpkin alternatives this month. And I have a couple that I've already made and a couple that I'm going to finish with you. This is the beautiful distinctive stamp set that came in this paper pumpkin. It's called Sentimental Rose in April 2019. And these are the lovely cards that it makes. It makes a total of 9 cards, 3 of this one, 3 of this one, 3 of this one, and then it makes an acetate box with a belly band around it and this beautiful rose on the top. And as is my practice, I have made cards with this kit. And so in the kit you get the card bases here, and you get, let's see if I can show you the card bases. This is one of the card bases that we get. Then we get this card base here, and this card base that has the printing on it. And those are the 3 card bases that we get to make note card sized cards. And I always like to do my alternatives in full-size cards. And so I have a couple that I have made and then a couple that I'm partway through, and I don't generally make the ones that they have in here. I go right to the alternatives that I've made. I've seen some beautiful ones out there. So the first card, I found that we have some wonderful glossy paper. It's being retired, so if you want to get some, now's the time. Distinctive stamps stamped on glossy paper is absolutely stunningly beautiful. And here's some the flowers that I did, and then here's a version of the leaves that I did using a different color ink. On this one I used the mint macaron, and the colors that coordinate with this time are basic black, calypso coral, flirty flamingo, gray granite, mint macaron, and so saffron. And so what I've done is I used a gray granite background, a piece of mint macaron here, and just cut a little semicircle out just to make it more interesting. I typed in thinking of you in, I think I did that in basic gray because the other came up a little bit light. Then I stamped this in flirty flamingo and then used mint macaron, and I put a little layering piece on here, and I hadn't put an inside on this card yet, so we can finish this one by doing that. And I have this lovely piece of white here, which I'm just going to take some snail and add to the inside of my card. And add that to the inside of my card. And then I think what I'm going to do is use a piece of scratch paper. I should have stamped this before I got started. But I'm going to take my stamp and my flirty flamingo. So I'll need a pierce mat here because this is photopolymer. And I'm going to just ink up this stamp really well. And I'm going to put this piece of scratch paper here along the edge so I don't stamp on the corner of my gray granite. And I'm going to put part of the flower here on this corner, pressing down quite a ways here to put some decoration on the inside of our card. Isn't that pretty? And then I think that while I'm at it, I'm going to take my stamp with the leaves on it, with the flirty flamingo leaves on this as well, just as some added decoration. And I'm going to stamp off once, and then I'm going to add those leaves right down here at the bottom. Again, you be smarter than me and do your stamping before you put your piece on the inside. So I'm just going to add these leaves down here. There we go. And there's the decoration for our inside of that card. Now, so this was actually quite simple to do and just very pretty. This is another one that I have made up and done something similar with. And on this one, these are some of the pieces that you get in this package. And you get sheets like the one that I've used here that have the many colors, all of the colors on it, some that have just the green and the yellow, and you get these beautiful rose patterns and some other flowers here to add to that. And what I did was I just stamped that rose just like I did for the inside of that card, and I fussy cut it out. And then along with the materials that come with your kit, you get these little enamel dots, and I put the Flirty Flamingo one here on the inside of my flower and a couple of the mint macaron ones here to pick up the mint. And I used a So Saffron background, and I used half of one of these pieces. I cut this top part off the card base and then cut that piece in half, and so that I could get this interesting little writing here. And then I put best wishes, and the stamp set itself has the flower. Oh, let me see, let me put something behind that so you can see that a little bit better. It has this beautiful distinctive flower and the leaves. Best wishes, happy Mother's Day. This little, it's just a little bit of texture. I've got for you, thank you, happy birthday, and congratulations. So really a very nice little stamp set. And so I used the best wishes and did that in the gray granite to match the back of the card. And on the inside, I did just put the rose inside. And so that was card number 2. And on this one, I used different colors of green. I used Old Olive and Granny Apple Green on that one. Then I have a couple of others that I got started and didn't finish, so we could finish them together. And this is the second, one of the ones that I've made. And what I did was I took a piece of white cardstock and I just sponged some color around the outside. And then I used my leaf pattern in the mint macaron and in the So Saffron, and I stamped off and then just put these images around the outside of the card. Then I used an ink dauber, and I put some more mint macaron around the edges of this card and making one that's more of a little shabby chic. And to that end, I took a couple of different things. I took one of these note cards and cut it in half, and I tore this edge, and I put in So Saffron, the flower up here in the corner, did some more sponging and some of that light technique of the green leaves on here. And then the envelopes for this kit come with these interiors. There's one other one that's kind of a green pattern. It's a very light green little words pattern, and of course you know me, I like to take apart the inside and use that. And I haven't used very many materials on this set yet. So this is the 3 patterns on the envelopes in So Saffron, in mint macaron, and then this pretty Flirty Flamingo. And I've seen a lot of people just take a punch and punch out this pattern and use it just as a decorative element on their cards. So even a 1/4 inch strip on some of these would be lovely on there. And I always, if they give me a piece of paper that's got pattern on it, I turn it into a card. I wouldn't waste it on an envelope. So I took this yellow piece here and I made everything the same size as this piece, which is, I believe, let's just measure it and see how big it is. So I cut these all to be 3 inches by 4 1/4, and I used some of the inside of one of these envelopes here, and then I used the cardstock for one of the cards for this last piece. And I just, now you wouldn't have to use this much paper because each one covers most of the other. You really could just cut a little edge to come out here. I was experimenting, so I have mine all put together. And then going around the edge of this with that dauber again in the mint macaron, I thought made this awfully pretty like this. Then I took a strip of mint macaron because I need a piece of solid color to anchor this, and I came up with this one that says Happy Mother's Day, and I'm thinking this is just a little bit too long, so I'm going to cut off, I don't know how much that is, 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to go ahead and take off the release papers on my dimensionals here and add this piece to my card front, centering it pretty much on the card, and there we've got some nice dimension. But while it's soft and looks that kind of beat up vintagey thing, it needs something here to anchor the color. So I used a piece of mint macaron and I did the Happy Mother's Day on here, and because this is raised, this doesn't need to be. So I'm just going to add some snail to this one here and add that right between this pretty flower and that leaf detail down at the bottom here. And in fact, I think I want to cut this one off even further. I'm going to take off another 1/4 of an inch because I don't want it to stick so far out of the side of this that it catches. But there we go. Now that fits right up against, that was a happy accident, right up against the edge of this last piece of card. And now that is starting to come together. So what I did then, also included in your kit, is this white baker's twine. And I just took my mint macaron marker and I colored up 2 pieces of this twine. And let's see, what did I cut these? These are about 7.5 inches, and I thought it would be pretty. I had tried adding a 1/3 piece of the white with these green, and I really did not like the way that came out. So I elected then to just tie a bow using the green twine here. And I made this cute little twine bow that I want to be a little bit smaller, about that big I would say, and put that right over here on this piece, and I think this is now starting to come together. So I'm going to snip off the ends of my twine here, and using a glue dot, I'm going to put this bow over on this side. Take a glue dot here and fold it over on itself and put it on the back of this knot. And even if you don't get all of the ribbon 100% colored, this is kind of a shabby chic look anyway, so if there's little bits of white showing, it's not going to make any difference at all. So there we go. We have that mostly done. Now I have some of these items left, and I thought it might be really interesting to put a couple of these on here, and my choices are that one and or some of these shiny sequins here in the green to put on the card, and we can see what that would look like here. Thought the contrast between all this shabby chic pale and something shiny would be really interesting. And so I did that, and then I thought I'm going to get a couple of these iridescent green. And that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because those kind of pick up both the green and the yellow. I think I might have to go with the sequins. So I'm going to take this piece off. And there's something about having something bright and shiny on this, and get a couple more of these pieces to put around on my card base here. And I think that's going to be very, very attractive. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with that when I started, but I'm thinking that these green sequins look pretty good. And I like to do uneven numbers, so I'm going to put 5 on here. So I'm going to put another one, well, maybe right up here. Okay, so I'm going to use my Tombow glue to do that. I think this came out really pretty. And then for the inside of the card, I did a little bit more of the sponge brayering, or the sponging along one end, and I put the leaves in both the mint macaron stamped off, and then with the So Saffron also stamped off. And I think that makes a lovely Mother's Day card. So that is card number 4. And they're all pretty different, but you know me, I like different. And the last card is very different, and this is the one that is put together the least. So I'm going to move these out of the way a little bit so you can see what it is I'm doing. And on this one, what I've done is I use some of that inside envelope material here, and I used a Flirty Flamingo background, and I cut the largest piece out of that envelope I could get, backed it in black, and then put the envelope piece on here. And this, we are just going to add some snail and put this into place. This one is, again, starkly different than the others and much brighter with a lot more contrast here. So I'm going to set this one in place on my card front here. Then this is one I stamped on the glossy paper twice, and then I cut out the inner flower on the second one and raised it on dimensionals, and then I did these leaves in Old Olive, and then I used Granny Apple Green to add the yellowish tones to this, and I might have even put a little pineapple punch on those to get a little bit more of a yellow tone, and then added those leaves just to the back of my flower here. And then I'm going to allow this to be the focal point on the front of the card. And then, let's see, I actually have one more after that. So let's go ahead and do this. There we go. Isn't that pretty? So there we go. That's our 4th card. And I haven't put anything on the inside of this one. So we can take a piece of white and set that on the inside of the card. Only this time, if I'm going to do any stamping, I need to do it ahead of time. So maybe what I can do is go ahead and bring out my Flirty Flamingo again and do that same thing, and that is do my stamping here. On the inside of my card, right down here on the bottom, and I want to add, let's see, I think I'm going to do my leaf first in Old Olive. So I'm going to add a leaf right up here in Old Olive, and right down here, and then I'm going to use my Granny Apple Green here to add some highlights. And then add a little bit of this pineapple punch to give me that yellow and blend down that Granny Apple Green a bit so that it matches the leaves on the outside here. And on this one, I might just take a blender pen and muddy up that ink on the flower a little bit. Move that ink around a little bit on that flower. Oops, it's not going to move much, so maybe I need to take my ink pad, and I want to add a little bit more of the Flirty Flamingo to the inside of that flower. There we go. That's the look I'm going for. There we go. I have a few little sequins in the pink out of this sequin mix. So I've got some green, and I have a whole lot of these little tiny sequins here. So I wanted to get the smallest of the little sequins in the pinks, and what I wanted to do was to add them to the center of this flower. So I'm going to bring back my glue and add a little drop here, and then use my pick tool to grab a couple of these sequins . Then I'm going to add a little bit of snail to the back of this panel here and put that into place on the inside of my card. And that card is now all finished. And I think it's so pretty. Such pretty colors in this kit. And the cards are so different, but they're just, and on these all I did was I folded down the edges and then pushed the center down and attached that with a dimensional. Then I have one more that I've come to use here. This corrugated paper is in the kit, and there's a big piece of it to go around the box. And there's just all kinds of other things to use here. And this is another of the cards that I took the panel that they gave me, and I took the twine here, and I used my Flirty Flamingo blend to color this twine. And then I went over this little bit of corrugated paper here with the the gray granite ink spot that comes with the kit, just to give it a little bit more interest. And then I sponged around this little piece, and I did cut this down. Now then, my thought on this was to use this. This is another envelope. No, this was a card front. And I put this, planning to put this down here. So I will do that on the front of this panel here, and then take this piece here, removing the release papers here, and then moving this further over here to kind of, oh, before I do that, I did want to put some of this twine on the back of this. In fact, maybe I'll just anchor some of that twine right on the edge of that dimensional. And what I wanted to do was to wrap this twine around here a couple of times, and then anchor these on the dimensionals here. So I'm going to add this piece of Flirty Flamingo, and let's see, this piece has been cut down to, and it might be most of the part of that note card. Looks like it's 3 3/8 by 5. And then this little piece of Flirty Flamingo is going to go right down here, cut to fit top to bottom against that piece of paper. And that is then underneath this piece, which has now got a little bit of the Flirty Flamingo giving us some contrast. And then on this piece, this was going to go on the inside of here with the gray around it. And I remember now. I think what I was going to do is just put this piece around here for some decoration. And of course, I've already got that sealed down. So I'm just going to put that piece there, and I'm going to draw this little piece of colored twine across here and pick up this edge and then wind this piece of twine back around the back here to add a little bit of decoration on the inside of my card here. There we go. And put that down on the inside of my card to add a little bit of decoration. And this one definitely needs some bling. So in this case, I think I am going to use these. I'm going to take this very large one here and put it in the center of my rose. Maybe not. Put it over here. Put a much smaller one at the center of my rose. There we go. It just looked out of proportion. And let's see, add 1 or 2 more of these around on our paper. Maybe one down here and another one over here. And there we've got a 5th card. Now, I do have this little best wishes sentiment, which I was going to add right down here to the bottom of this paper here. Oops, I can't get my, there we go. There we go. All right, so I'm going to add this piece to the bottom here, right down here, best wishes. And there we go. There is our 5th card. So these are my 5 paper pumpkin alternatives. and I've seen some beautiful examples. I'd invite you to go look at Rachel Tessman. She did a floating frame using this beautiful set here, this rose, as part of the frame that floats on the card. And Barry Wishes out of Canada. Barry is an incredibly talented stamper, and she does, that I've seen, she's only done paper pumpkin alternatives on her site. And she has one where she turned this corrugated stuff into pickets and made a fence and put flowers around it. It's just beautiful. There are lots of folks doing wonderful things out there. So that's it for me today. Thanks so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. I do so appreciate it. And you can subscribe to Paper Pumpkin. You have until the 10th to subscribe for the May Paper Pumpkin, and that is Hugs from Shelley. That's the one designed by Shelley Gardner. I can hardly wait to get that one. In fact, I ordered myself an extra one of that. And I do have a giveaway on this one. I have another paper pumpkin kit of this distinctive set, and if you will share the video and let me know that you've shared it, I'll wait a couple days and pick out a winner and send you a paper pumpkin kit. So thanks again so much for stopping by. Oh, my prize. My prize for the month of May is a complete set, 9 of the Stampin' Up! Blocks, which I think are superior to most of the blocks that are out there. They fit ergonomically beautifully in your hand, and there's 9 sizes, and it's a complete set. $71 or $2 value in the catalog, and all you have to do is put an order on my website, www.lbedinger.stampinup, or you can get to it through my blog, www.inkandingenuity.com. Oh, the other big thing I want to announce is I am doing a paper share this time, and all of the details will be up on my blog, and I'm doing I think it's 13 of the papers in the catalog, so all of the designer series paper. I'm not doing the laser cut. That's very, very challenging to cut. And I will be giving a little bonus material in that going to be giving some of the colored vellum in the pack with the 13 designer series papers. I'll have all of the details up on my blog probably later today about how to order, how to participate, and it would be such great fun to get all of the papers in the catalog at a very reasonable price. So that's it for me. I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, more tips. Bye.